Hi, I'm Laura and welcome back to the Tarot Genie for this week's lessons in the tarot cards. Today we're going to discuss one of the other bad boys of the tarot, the Devil card. The Devil card elicits lots of fear and trepidation when people select this card or see it laid out in one of the readings, but it's not necessarily that fearsome. But I will go over some of the key associations and meanings with the Devil card. Now, one thing I like to point out, the Devil, except for if you take out the D in the Devil, you have evil. And in a way, I was thinking today, because I speak French, that D means of the evil. And yes, the Devil is indeed associated with evil, of course. Most people know that. It is associated with being Satan, etc. And what always jumps out about this particular image, as you can see, is the darkness, the black background, and that's evident. What also is interesting is that this card reminds me a lot of the Lover's card. It's almost like the polar opposite of the Lover's card, because in that card we have Adam and Eve, and they're in the same positions on the Lover's card, but instead of the beautiful radiant angel, I think it's Gabriel, or I think it's Archangel Gabriel, in the Lover's card we have the Devil. And of course the Devil, in some schools of thought, religious thought, is said to be a fallen angel. I don't know the explanation of that, but apparently the Devil is considered a fallen angel, someone who tumbled out probably because of negative behavior. And what's also interesting here is that he's almost looks like he's these chicken legs, claws in the legs, and his hand is raised. He's got his right arm raised in his hand, and this reminds me of the Hierophant, who also has the palm raised, almost like a benediction, but it's not, because it's the Devil. Another thing to look at here is the upside down, apparently, star, which is associated with the ego and being tied into negative behavior and all the pitfalls of the ego, fear, etc. Now, when the Devil card pops up in a reading, it can be associated with a number of things. Now, one area that it's often associated with is addictions, being tethered to something, bondage, because as we see here, the two individuals, likely Adam and Eve, are both chained. They are chained to the Devil's, looks like, almost to me like a trunk. He's on top of a trunk, a black trunk, but they're chained to him. So they're tethered to him. They cannot, in theory, get away. And they both have, Adam has the flames, a tail of flames, which are connected, almost connected and touching the Devil's flame right there. Interestingly, the Eve figure has a tail of grapes, but that could be related to perhaps drunkenness, wine, etc. We don't know. Both have horns, and of course the Devil is a horned creature. That's also suggesting their allegiance, or their being bonded to the Devil and to his way of being, to the evil, to the negative forces, etc. He's also got those wings, but they almost look like bat wings. So we get this whole sense, this whole vibe of negativity, evil forces, everything that's bad and reprehensible. And so that is, there is that heaviness. Now, one thing that came to mind, I've mentioned this story before, but about 5 years ago, it was 5 years ago, 5.5, where this relationship ended. I was completely blindsided, did not expect, was completely deceived. And one day I did a tarot reading, I had done several on this situation, but months later I was asking about this individual and the Devil came up. And it was a perfect answer, because I was saying, why did this happen? Like, why did he act? And the Devil came up, and I thought it was the master deceiver. This individual really for a while had snowed me over, had deceived me. But it's looking back, I did pick up on it like early on. I had some feelings of discomfort, and I thought it was my own weaknesses, that he was very complimentary. I thought, oh, I can't accept compliments that way. It was because so much came on, but I think it's because it was not genuine. So if you were asking about an individual and the devil comes up, it could relate to someone who is perhaps deceptive. It could relate to someone who has a lot of negative qualities, who may have some evil qualities. And the devil is considered one of the bad boys of the tarot, quote unquote, according to, I'll show you her book in a moment, Brigit Esselmont. But she's an interesting podcast saying, well, sometimes though the devil can be a positive image that shows up, positive card. Now, how can the devil be a positive card? Well, actually today, in doing my homework for the ghostwriting certification class, I am trying to ghostwrite a psychologist's manuscript, all these speeches, her transcript on Jungian analysis and Carl Jung. And interestingly enough, and I was pleased when I took on this assignment a few months ago, that she brings up the tarot. She talks about tarot cards in her talks. And one of the cards she talks about is the devil. So that I literally read about that today. And she says one thing to point out, that is that these chains are very loose. And these people could conceivably, if they decided to, they could release themselves from this bondage. But another point, stumbling over my words here, another point that she makes is that when you become aware, say, of your inner demons, things that are holding you back, fears, etc., anxieties, when you become consciously aware of them and perhaps their cause, then you are able to free yourself of them and transcend them. And so if this devil came up in a reading and you were upset at first, it could suggest something like, well, face your fears. Or it may suggest that the advice might be, you need to get rid of the things that have been holding you down. And to focus on that, to contemplate what's been holding you down, what have you been chained to? And you may need to release yourself from that. And by releasing yourself from those things, people, situations, etc., you will be able to move forward. You will be able to live fully. Because the opposite, if you take off the D, the opposite of evil is live. So you will be able to live fully. So one positive situation or positive way that the devil card can come up in a reading, a positive influence, is that it may suggest if you face your demons, you face your negativity, you will be able to transcend it. And maybe say, look at it now, and then you will be able to release it. So that's a positive association with the devil card. Now, the music that I recommend for this song, that's associated in my mind with the song, is Shattered by the Rolling Stones. Another musical selection is a classical piece, and it's called Bald Mountain, and it's by Modest Mussorgsky. I will put the links to both of those musical selections, but to me they stir up, especially Shattered by the Rolling Stones and also this musical piece, just resonate with me when I look at this card. So again, the associations are often addiction, bondage, being tethered to something, being held down, or being tethered to someone. But it also can suggest a time to look at your negativity, look at what's holding you back, and release it. A book that I'd like to recommend for your tarot learning is called Everyday Tarot. It came out, I think, 2 years ago. I believe so. I have it in here. It's Everyday Tarot, Unlock Your Inner Wisdom and Manifest Your Future. It's by Brigit Esselmont. She is an Australian tarot expert. I think she's done a whole bunch of tarot podcasts. It's called Biddy Tarot. I also got certified as a tarot reader through her program 3 years ago. It's like almost 4 years ago. And you could just Google her or look her up on YouTube. She's got some videos there. This is a nice book. It's good for the beginner. She has some basic readings. She has some exercises. She has some good questions using the tarot as a prompt for writing, some spreads about relationships, or when you have to make a decision between two options or three options. Some really good information in this book. I highly recommend it. And that's again by Brigit Esselmont. I will have the information about that in the show notes. So until next time, remember to illumine your mind, inspire your life with the tarot. And also, if you'd like a free tarot audio download, go to my website, thetarotgenie.com. Until next time.